I think you have.
The last one was at Jefferson McCarthy one where they're sitting and stuff.
Oh, really?
I'm off to be duty on this. It's fine.
But Getty has two people to send it to.
That's just an
And have to walk in. You have to send it in.
I exclusively taco diet. Oh my god, next level. Exclusive taco diet. I take it seriously. I skipped the barbecue this trip. My sister
You were down there?
which
I was down there.
yeah, barbecue. Yeah, it was really nice. And the past was fun.
Did y'all have a tent there this year?
No, we did not, no.
Like when it came out in the morning meeting last
That's so good.
Nothing. No, it's not
Well,
good.
the week before it definitely was. Because I shot that one.
That one wasn't there, I would imagine now.
These staffers are meeting, just standing out there.
Your makeup looks so pretty today, though. Did you do yourself? No.
Everything's gone. Hey, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
How do you grow every day and get more of you? I'm like gremlins, water. So tonight we're back in session. We will vote on a rule to bring up 4 more appropriation bills. That'll be a total of 5 more than the Senate has been able to pass. In that, if we get through these next 4, that would be 72% of all the discretionary spending. I would also this week put on the floor a continuing resolution that secures our border. I've watched this president fail time and again. His Biden economics has brought us inflation. We watched his policies change when he became president on this border, stopping the border wall from being finished, stopping people from remaining in Mexico. We set unbelievable records every single day as we go forward. Yesterday we saw the border agent bloodied. I'm not sure CNN still believes the border is secure or not, but it is not. I've watched Democrats across the nation, from the New York City mayor saying it's going to destroy New York City, from the governor of New York telling people to go somewhere else, from El Paso's mayor telling them they are at a breaking point, to the Massachusetts governor who's declaring a state of emergency. Democrats across the nation are telling the president to do something about the border. The only place I'm not hearing any Democrat say anything about it is here in the halls of Congress. The Republicans will put on the floor a rule to secure our border. I think that's the appropriate way to be able to keep government funding, secure our border, while we continue to keep the government open to work on the rest of the appropriation bills. The president has ignored this problem. The president can no longer ignore what is happening on the border. How does he ignore every single day the hundreds of Americans daily who are poisoned and are dying from fentanyl? How does he watch the trains coming up with people on it? How does he ignore his own Democrats across the nation who are pleading with him that they are destroying their cities by him doing nothing? Today he'll go join a picket line that he created. It'll be interesting to see those auto workers ask the president about his policies that subsidize electric cars that are putting them out of business and sending their jobs overseas. This president has failed time and again. We've got pickets across the country. We've got a border wide open. We've got embassies that have to be evacuated. We got allies that are now turning to China. This lack of leadership under this president has failed us time and again. The House Republicans will continue to do our job.
Is there any scenario in which you would put a clean CR on the floor?
Look, I do not see how the president can continue to ignore what's happening on the border. If the president wants to continue to be able to have the government funding while we communicate, while we be able to solve our bills across the floor, the Senate has not passed one appropriation bill. The Senate has not passed one appropriation bill. I don't know how many in the press stand and ask Schumer what he's going to do. The House has continued to do their job. But we cannot sit back and look at the border of where it is today, the cries across the nation from governors, from mayors, from cities, saying they're at a tipping point, declaring states of emergency, and this president continued to ignore
So
it.
do you have buy-in?
There's been Republicans that have been blocking the rule. Are you confident that they won't block the rule? There's three
I don't understand how
Republicans.
anybody would block the ability to secure the border. If they want to stand with President Biden on keeping the border open, I think that'd be a wrong position to have.
Schumer and McConnell are negotiating a 45-day short-term spending bill. If that comes over without Ukraine funding or disaster aid, would you put it on the floor?
How many times you've asked me a question this week, and it's the exact same question. It's always a hypothetical that the Senate is going to do something. You could have asked me all the same question during the debt ceiling. What did they ever produce? Or you could ask me the question, what will they do for the parents? They want to have a say in their kids' education. Nothing. Why the House does something about it. You could ask me, what would they do to make sure crime is stopped, especially even in D.C. when they wanted to decriminalize. They didn't do anything until the House acted. Or what about the border itself being secure? They haven't done anything, but the House has a bill over there. So I'm not going to take up hypotheticals of someday dreaming the Senate's going to do something. When they do something, come back and ask me about something they've
So
passed.
you're sure
Yes,
It's your fault.
Can you provide us a few more details on the amount of money that you're going to put for border security in the CR?
Well, let me be very clear. The border doesn't need more money to be solved. It needs a policy change that the president put in when he became president. You have the materials to finish the wall now. He's paying money to make sure the wall doesn't get built. He changed Remain in Mexico, Title 42. All these actions have brought more deaths in this country by the fentanyl coming across. The president can take these actions without even having the House or the Senate to do anything. But he has ignored this time and again. When he went to New York City, he couldn't even meet with the Democratic mayor of New York based upon his policies on the southern border that he says is destroying the city. Same thing happening in El Paso. Same thing happening with the Democrat governor of Massachusetts that declared an emergency in Massachusetts. The governor of New York, the Democratic governor, has told people to go somewhere else. These are cries across the nation that the president continues to ignore. And nobody in the House or Senate have passed any legislation that made these problems. Now, the House has passed legislation to solve it. We will give an opportunity for Democrats on the floor to join with us to keep government open while at the same time securing the border. If they would listen. I mean, we've got Schumer, who's from New York. He's got a governor and the mayor of his biggest city asking him to do something on the border. We're going to give him an opportunity.
Mr. Speaker, what is your message to some Republican holdouts who have shrugged off the impact of a short government shutdown?
Look, I don't think shutdowns ever help. That's why I'm telling the president and asking him, stop ignoring the border. Stop ignoring those who are actually in your party, the leaders of your party, the governor of New York, the mayor of New York City, the governor of Massachusetts, the governor of New Jersey. You can go across the country. You can go to El Paso's mayor. He says they're at a tipping point. They're about to break. Or why don't you listen to the American families that their children are being poisoned and killed every day from fentanyl? It is the equivalent of an airliner crashing in America every single day to the deafening of the ears of the White House. Well, you know what? No longer. No longer will we sit back and allow him to ignore the problems that he has created. This is too important. The American lives that are at stake, it is the #1 killer of Americans between the ages of 18 and 45. This is a bipartisan issue. This is the leaders of the Democratic Party accept what's in this House. So we will give them an opportunity Do they want to stand with the leaders of the Democrats across the nation who are elected? Do they want to stand with the American people? Do they want to stand with the families that are crying out? It's not a big ask. It's not a big ask at all. We have passed H.R. 2. It's sitting in the Senate. They have chosen, Schumer has chosen to ignore his governor, to ignore his mayor, to not act on this. Well, you know what? We will give the president and the Democrats an opportunity to do something about this border. And you know what? In doing so, we will keep government open and solve these problems. Yes, sir.
Sir, can you guarantee that by the end of the week?
So if you pass the rule tonight, then you would put this CR with border security on the floor. But
We
if you
will-
don't- go ahead.
No, you finish your
No,
question.
If you don't pass that rule, what do you do about a CR?
Well, the CR is under another rule. So, I mean, tonight, let me be clear, tonight is a rule about 4 appropriation bills. We've already passed one of them. There's 12 overall. If we finish these 4 with the others we passed before, that would be 72% of all the discretionary spending of the 12 bills that need to get taken up. We believe securing the border, the president's willing to do that. We will continue to fund government for a short time period to finish the rest of the job. Unfortunately, the Senate has passed 0%. They said they were going to do it at the beginning of the month. They have a long history under the leadership of Schumer of doing no appropriation bills. Luckily, they've gotten some through committee, so we'll never have an omnibus again, because an omnibus is when no bills go through committee. But what I'm simply saying here is the president can no longer ignore this border. He has ignored the leaders in his party. He's ignored the American families who have lost their children. He has ignored the mayors of this country. It doesn't matter where you are in America, you are a border city today. And we're watching them just come across on a train. We are now watching border agents bloodied. They are being bloodied. We're watching cartels make billions of dollars. That has to stop, and it stops today. The president can keep the country open and secure our borders and make America strong. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.